How did we get here, says Aaron. Aaron, how did we get here? When did anti-whiteism start? Does it precede the West, or is it a modern phenomenon? Wonderful question. And it's one that so many people get wrong. And the reason why is you get used to seeing oh, and then I'll go back and I'll take a look at what you all said if you were the father or mother of this 11-year-old little girl. Before she hung up the phone, she would hear my car door outside. The problem so many people have is that when trying to ascertain where does anti-whiteism come from, is that they only are able to perceive tiny elements of it in its current manifestation. And therefore, when they look backward, which they don't do like a complete study, or that's how you get all these people who will say, oh, it got bad in the last 5 years. Oh, it's really been just 10 years. Oh, well, really what they're telling you is when they started paying attention. But you can go back and you can even see elements, the exact mean pathogens in use today. You can see them long before you were alive in media, in plays, in books, etc. You can find the exact same ones. But if you only look for the current iteration, the iterations, the current mean pathogens of anti-whiteism, you are never going to find where it starts. So you're looking for then the thrust, the engine, the vehicle of it, because it's like words changing over time, names of places changing over time. Whatever the engine is, whatever the vehicle is, whatever the weakness is in us for anti-whiteism, if you can see that, then you'll be able to see all the different faces it comes in. And so when you go back, as you follow the trace of it backward through time, you find that anti-whiteism was with us long before there were non-white people. So in our communities. And so the idea then that if you just get rid of a group of people today, or several groups of people today, that it's going to remedy things, well, that's flawed on a lot of levels. But it's also not a remedy to anti-whiteism in any way, shape, or form. Not one iota. You can see anti-whiteism in the ethnic slurs that white people cast at each other, and that were used by people with clout, people with power, for their own selfish, individualistic pursuit of wealth and power. And so when we understand that to slander white people is to engage in anti-whiteism, then it can't happen among us anymore from anyone. Anti-whiteism in its current iteration, and also practiced by non-white people, is only here today because it was here in a different form with us before they showed up. And selfishly individualistic white people brought it in. So the remedy to anti-whiteism is addressing the weakness in us that causes us to be selfishly individualistic. You're not giving up individualism, your individual identity. We have to learn how to pursue individual well-being by way of group well-being. When you do that, you get the same kind of results that you see out of some Jewish people or some Black people for their communities, some Hispanic people, some Arab people for their communities. that when they see the community slandered, everybody shows up. How many white people have you had to endure make jokes, and maybe even still to this day, about blonde people, about Polish people, about Irish people, on and on? That is all anti-whiteism. It's very simple. If you do not treat the actual substance, the source of it, which is the weakness in us, then it will persist. It will persist and it will continue to harm us. And in the form it is today, even if I were to grant somebody an argument, because it wouldn't happen in the real world, that they've removed this or that group of people, well, they would just come right back. They would be right back in, as has happened so many times, proving me right so many times. So there's a weakness in us. It's a phenomenon that results from the weakness in us. So that's where we have to fix it. Then it can't happen. You can't look to other people and say, well, you shouldn't take advantage. I mean, you look at like the Chinese, for example, and we saw news, and we're seeing news and more news about the communist Chinese are making use of anti-whiteism. White people allow ourselves to be white guilted. We don't stand together for individual well-being. We don't. So are you going to, in another 10 years or another 20 years, the Chinese, by way of the communist Chinese, and maybe those loyal to them, and then those who are maybe Chinese, but maybe even born in America, born in Canada, born in Australia, will see the benefit to using anti-whiteism, and then use it. Are people then going to say, and they I assume they will, this is all coming from the Chinese. Now, if we just deal with the communist Chinese, then it will all be gone. But it won't be. So great question. Thank you.